I've told this story maybe 4 times in my whole life, not because I forget it, I never forget it. I just don't like the way people look at me after like they want it to be a movie and it wasn't a movie. It was Tuesday, it was cold, and it was the worst 11 hours of my life. So let me start where it actually started, which is with a cup of coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. We were forward of everything, the kind of place where the map just gives up and shows you brown. There was a valley long, narrow, with walls so steep that at noon you'd get maybe 2 hours of real sunlight before the shadows came back and ate the whole thing. The locals called it something I could never say right. We called it the slot, because that's what it felt like. A slot you could drop a coin into and never hear it land. There were 7 of us going in. I was the team lead, which mostly meant I got to worry first. Then there was Booker, our breacher, a huge quiet guy from Mississippi who hummed gospel under his breath when he was nervous. Tran, our medic, who could put a man back together with dental floss and stubbornness. Diaz and Polk, our 2 assaulters, who argued about basketball like it was the only thing keeping the planet spinning. Webb, our comms guy, 23 years old and still calling everyone sir, even when I told him to knock it off. And then there was her, up high on the glass. Her name was Renner, Sniper, Overwatch. She wasn't going into the valley with us, that was the whole point. She'd peel off 2 hours before dawn and climb to a finger of rock above the eastern wall, set up and become our eyes. We never really saw her work, that was the thing about Renner. She was just a voice in your ear, calm, flat, a little dry, like she found the whole war mildly annoying. You forgot she was even a person sometimes, she was just the weather. She was just the thing that told you it was safe to move. I remember the morning we went in, she said over the net, winds nothing, visibility good, try not to embarrass me down there. Diaz laughed into his collar, copy no promises. That was the last easy thing anybody said for a long time. Here's what the job was in plain words. There was a compound at the far end of the slot. Intelligence said somebody important was using it as a way station, moving men and money through. We were supposed to get in close, confirm, and either pull back with eyes on or do something about it if the window opened. Quiet in, quiet out, that was the plan. Plans are funny. You spend a week building one and the enemy ruins it in about 90 seconds. We moved in the dark the way you do, each man a shadow behind the man in front, all of us reading the ground by feel. The valley floor was dry riverbed, smooth stones that wanted to roll under your boots. I kept my breathing slow. I could hear Booker humming way down low, something about a river and a home on the other side of it. It steadied me, it always did. Dawn came gray, not the pretty kind. The cold light just sort of leaked into the valley like water under a door, and that's when the day started going wrong in small ways first. Webb tapped my shoulder. Sir, we've got foot traffic, 2, maybe 3 up on the north shelf. I keyed Renner, you see them. A pause, then her voice steady. Got 'em, 2 men, they're not farmers, they've got long guns and they're moving with purpose, they haven't made you yet. Haven't made us yet is one of those phrases you cling to, you hold it like a railing. We held position behind a spine of rock, all of us flat, all of us trying to be stone. I watched Tran chew the inside of his cheek. I watched Polk's finger rest light along the side of his rifle, never on the trigger, just resting, the way good men keep it until the very last second. And for about 10 minutes it almost worked. The 2 men up north wandered, looked, didn't see. I started to let myself breathe again. Then Renner's voice changed, just slightly. Anybody else wouldn't have caught it, but I'd lived in that woman's voice for 3 deployments and I heard the tightness underneath the calm. Be advised, she said, I'm counting more, north shelf, south shelf, they're filtering in, this isn't 2 guys anymore. How many? A beat more than 7. Nobody said anything, there was nothing to say. We'd walked into the long part of the slot, the narrowest part, the part where the walls came in close on both sides, and somewhere in the last hour they had quietly closed the door behind us. We were in a tube, and they were on the rim looking down. I want to be honest about something. There's a moment when you realize you're surrounded, where your body knows before your brain does. Your stomach drops, your mouth goes dry, there's a sound in your ears like a seashell. And you have about 1 second to decide whether you're going to be the man your team needs or the man who freezes. I'd had that second before, it never gets easier, you just get faster at choosing. I keyed the net, made my voice flat as a tabletop. Everybody hears me, we're not where we want to be, we're gonna move back the way we came, tight to the eastern wall in bounds. Renner's got the high ground on the east side, so that wall is ours, stay under her, stay calm, we've done this. Copy came back 6 times. We started moving. And that's when the valley came apart. I don't know who fired first, it doesn't matter. One shot and then the whole rim lit up like somebody had strung Christmas lights and set them all on fire at once. The noise in a place like that doesn't come at you, it comes from everywhere. It bounces off both walls and stacks up on itself until you can't tell direction, can't tell distance, can't tell anything except down. Get down. Rounds were skipping off the stones around us, kicking up dust and chips of rock that stung like wasps. Somebody yelled, I think it was Palk. We poured into a fold in the eastern wall, a shallow cut maybe waist deep, and pressed ourselves into it like we could become part of the mountain. I did a head count by feel, hand on each man as I crawled the line. Booker, Tran, Diaz, Palk, Webb, me, 6.
6.
I keyed the net and my voice wasn't flat anymore. Who's not with me, sound off, who's not in the cut. Static, then Renner, you're 7th down in the open, about 15 meters back behind the flat rock. It's a pause that I will hear in my sleep until the day I die. It's not Webb, it's not your guys, recount. I recounted and my heart stopped because I'd miscounted in the chaos. We were 6 in the cut and one of ours was still out there. It was the new kid. I haven't said his name yet because it still hurts to. His name was Avery, 20, first real deployment. He'd taken a round going into the fold and gone down hard behind that flat rock, and now he was out in the open with the whole valley shooting at the air above him. And he wasn't moving much, and he was 15 meters away across ground that was being chewed to powder. Renner, I said, I need that north corner suppressed so I can get to him. Working it, she said, and I heard, faint and far away, the flat, heavy thump of her rifle. Once, twice, up north 2 of the muzzle flashes just stopped, like she'd reached down from the sky and pinched out 2 candles. But there were too many, that was the problem. One rifle, however good, against a valley rim full of them. She could quiet a corner, she couldn't quiet the whole sky. Tran grabbed my arm. I'll go, I'm the medic, it's my. You'll die, I said, we all will if we do this stupid, wait. Waiting is the hardest thing there is. Avery was out there making a sound, not a scream, worse than a scream. A small, surprised sound over and over, the sound a person makes when they don't understand yet that they're badly hurt. And we sat in that cut, 6 grown men with all our training and all our gear, and we couldn't reach 15 feet of open ground. That's where part 1 ends, I guess, if I'm telling it like a story. With us pinned, with the kid out in the open, with the sky full of fire and one steady voice in our ears doing the math. I'll tell you the rest, but I need a second, even now I need a second. Okay. So we were pinned. You have to understand what pinned really means because people throw the word around. Pinned means you cannot lift your head. Pinned means the air above you is a solid thing, a ceiling of metal, and the second you break that ceiling you stop being a person and become a problem for Tran to solve. We were pinned about as bad as it gets. I got on the net to hire, called for air, called for anything. The answer came back the way it always comes back when you need it most, not yet, whether socked in over the pass, birds were grounded. Closest QRF, that's the quick reaction force, the guys who come save you, was over an hour out by ground because the only road in was the valley itself, and the valley itself was a meat grinder. An hour. We did not have an hour. Avery did not have an hour. I remember Webb, the kid on comms, looking at me with these huge eyes, and he said real quiet, "Sir, what do we do?" And I didn't have an answer. That's the part nobody tells you about leading men. Sometimes you're the guy in charge and you have absolutely nothing. You just have a face you're supposed to keep arranged in a way that doesn't make everybody else fall apart. It was Renner who answered, over the net, calm as a librarian. I'm repositioning, she said. I keyed back, negative, stay on the glass, we need your eyes. You need my gun more, she said. From where I am, half the south rim's in my shadow, I can't touch them. I move 40 meters west onto the spur, I can rake the whole south wall. I'll lose eyes on you for about 90 seconds while I move, live with it. 40 meters, doesn't sound like much, but she was up on a finger of rock with sheer drop on 3 sides, and 40 meters meant breaking cover, exposing herself, becoming a thing the enemy could see and shoot at. And they knew where she was now. That's the thing, once she'd started firing, they'd worked out roughly where the rounds were coming from. There were men on the far rim trying to find her right then. Renner, I said, don't. Already moving, she said. And then, dry as ever, stop talking, you're distracting me. 90 seconds of silence on her end. The longest 90 seconds. We just lay there in the cut and listened to the valley try to kill us, and listened to Avery making that small sound, fainter now, which was worse, and waited to find out if the one voice that had been keeping us alive was still attached to a living person. Then the rifle again, but from a new place, from the west, and it changed everything. She started working the south wall like she was running a metronome. Thump, pause. Each one of those pauses was her finding the next man, breathing out, and ending an argument forever. The fire from the south wall, the side that had us most exposed, started to stutter, then to thin. The men down there learned fast that lifting up to shoot at us meant a half-second later they didn't exist anymore, so they stopped lifting up. That stutter, that little gap in the fire, that was the whole ball game. "Window opening on the south," she said. "I can hold this side, north wall's still hot, I can't reach it from here. You've got maybe a 30-degree slice of cover, use it now, I can't promise it twice." I looked at Tran looked at me, we didn't need words, I keyed the team. "Tran and me are going for Avery, the rest of you put everything you've got on the north shelf, I don't care if you hit anything, I want their heads down, on my go." Booker just nodded, that big quiet man, and started lining up his shots. I heard him humming again, low, the river song. "Go," I said. I have never moved faster in my life, and it still felt like running through wet concrete. 15 meters, I counted them. 1, 2, the world screaming, 3, 4, dust in my teeth, 5, around so close to my ear it sounded like a door slamming, 6, 7, Tram beside me, 8, 9, and then we were on him, on Avery, sliding into the dirt behind the flat rock like we were stealing second base in the worst baseball game ever played. He was alive, pale, gray, shocky but alive, hit in the thigh and the side. Tran went to work without a word, hands moving, packing, wrapping, talking to the kid in this low, steady voice. "I got you, you're good, I got you, look at me," and Avery looked at him with these wide animal eyes and Tran just kept saying it. "I got you, I got you." And the whole time, that rifle from the west holding the south wall down, holding the door open by main force. Just her, just one woman and one rifle and a math problem she was solving over and over against the clock. We got Avery up between us in a drag carry and made the run back. I won't pretend it was clean. The north wall opened up again the second we moved and I felt Tran take a graze across the shoulder. He never even slowed down. We fell into the cut in a pile, all of us, Avery in the middle of us, and Tran was on him again instantly, and for 1 second, one beautiful second, I thought maybe we'd hold here till the weather lifted. Maybe we'd all walk out. Then Renner's voice, and it was different again, tight. The calm was still there, but it was stretched thin over something underneath. "They're flanking your north," she said. 6, 8 of them coming down a goat trail to close on your cut. I can't see the trail from here, the spur blocks it. You're going to lose your north flank in about 3 minutes and I can't do a thing about it from this position." 3 minutes, we were 6 guys and 1 wounded man in a hole. About to be flanked by twice our number coming down a trail none of us could see and Renner couldn't shoot. "Can you move again?" I asked. "No," she said. "If I move off the spur the south wall comes alive again and you're surrounded for real. I move, you die on this side, I stay, you die on that side, I can't be in 2 places." Silence on the net, everybody heard it, everybody understood the arithmetic. 2 walls, 1 rifle, pick a way to die. And then she said the thing I've never forgotten. She said it almost to herself like she was working a problem out loud. "There's 1 shot," she said. "From here there's an angle, off the far wall, the trail they're using, there's a flat rock face above it, smooth, almost like a mirror. If I put a round on the right spot, the way it'll skip," she stopped. "Then, it's a ricochet, down the throat of the trail, it's 1 in 1,000. I've got the wind, I've got the distance, but the angle off that rock is a guess. I take that shot, I give away my new position for nothing if I'm wrong, and the south wall wakes up and you're done." "And if you're right," I said. A pause, the longest pause yet. "If I'm right," she said, "the trail's a funnel. 1 round in the right place ends the flank before it starts." I looked around the cut. At Booker, at Polk, at Diaz, at Webb with his huge scared eyes, at Tran with his bloody hands still pressed to Avery's side. At a 20-year-old kid breathing in little sips. And I keyed the net and I said the only thing a leader can say in that moment, which is the hardest sentence in the world, which is, "I trust you, make the call. Renner, your shot, take it or don't, we're with you either way." And she said, "I can hear it right now, flat and quiet and absolutely certain, hold what you've got. Don't move on the north, give me 5 seconds of quiet." We gave her quiet. 6 men who wanted nothing in the world more than to be shooting at something just lay there and held their breath and gave 1 woman on a rock 40 meters away 5 seconds of quiet. That's where part 2 ends, with the whole world balanced on a guess. With her cheek on the stalk and her breath going out slow and the trail full of men we couldn't see and the only sound in my ears the blood in my own head counting. 5 seconds. I've thought about those 5 seconds more than I've thought about almost anything in my life. What it must have been like inside her head. The wind reading, the angle off that rock face she couldn't be sure of. The distance, the drop, the spin of the round, the geometry of a ricochet that nobody trains for because nobody's insane enough to plan around one. She had all of it stacked up in her mind at once, and she was holding it perfectly still, the way you hold a tower of glasses, and underneath all of it she knew that if the math was wrong we all died, and it was her hand that did it. That's a weight. I don't have a word big enough for that weight. The valley actually went quiet too, strange thing. There's a rhythm to a firefight, and sometimes it just breathes, both sides reloading, both sides repositioning, and for a few seconds the noise drops out and you can hear small things again. I heard the wind. I heard a single bird somewhere up high that did not care about any of us. I heard Avery breathing. I heard Booker, almost too soft to catch, finish his line of gospel, something about crossing over, about the other side, and then go silent. And then her rifle. One round, just one. Thump, and then a strange double crack as the bullet did its impossible thing, struck the rock face high above the trail and changed its mind and went somewhere it was never meant to go. For a second, nothing. For a second I thought, that's it, she missed, we're done, get ready. I actually started to turn to Polk to set the north flank. And then her voice, quiet, steady, 3 words. Shot confirmed. I didn't understand at first. Confirmed how? Confirmed what? And then I heard the north, the trail we couldn't see, the trail with 8 men coming down it to flank us. I heard it go from a sound of movement, of boots and gear and men, to a sound of confusion, of shouting, of men who had just watched something happen at the front of their formation in a narrow place where there was nowhere to go but forward or back, and who suddenly had no interest at all in coming forward. The flank broke, it just broke. Whatever that one round did in the throat of that trail, in that funnel, it took the fight out of them. They pulled back up the goat path the way they'd come, and they did not come down again. I have asked myself 100 times what exactly happened on that trail. Renner never told me, not in detail, and I never pushed. Some things a person carries, and it's not yours to make them set it down so you can look at it. All I know is what I heard. A flank coming to kill us, and then one round, and then a flank that wasn't coming anymore. And 3 words, flat as ever, like she'd just confirmed a lunch reservation. Shot confirmed. After that it gets blurry, the way the end of these things does. The fire from the walls started to slacken. Once the flank failed, once their numbers thinned, the whole thing lost its nerve. Renner kept the south wall honest. We kept the north quiet with everything we had. And then finally, a sound I'll love until I die. The weather broke over the pass and the birds came. You feel it before you hear it, a thudding in your chest, and then they were overhead, and the rim of the valley that had been raining fire on us for hours emptied out in about 90 seconds flat, because nobody, anywhere, wants to be on an exposed rim when the birds arrive. They put down. We got Avery on first, Tran riding his chest the whole way, still saying it, I got you, even though the kid had passed out. We loaded up. I did a head count, a real one this time, hand on every man. 7. I keyed the net one last time before we lifted. Renner, we're 7, we're all 7, you hear me? Get to your extract, we're all 7. There was a pause, and then, for the first and only time in 3 deployments, I heard her voice crack, just a little, just on one word. Copy, she said, all 7 good. That was it, that was all she said, but I heard it. I heard the whole war in that little crack on the word good. I saw her that night, back at the base, sitting alone on a crate cleaning her rifle by the light of a single bulb, the way she always did. I didn't know what to say. There aren't words for it. So I just sat down next to her, didn't say anything, and after a while I pulled out my flask, the one I wasn't supposed to have, and I held it out. She looked at it, looked at me, took it, drank, handed it back. That shot, I started. Don't, she said. So I didn't, we just sat there. 2 people who'd been on opposite ends of the same thread for 11 hours, listening to the night, not talking about the thing we'd never not think about again. After a while she said, real quiet, not looking at me, I wasn't sure, about the angle, I wasn't sure. I know, I said. Somebody had to be sure, so I decided to be. I've thought about that more than anything else she ever said. Somebody had to be sure, so she decided to be. That's the whole thing, isn't it? That's the whole thing right there. The world hands you a moment where being certain is impossible, and being uncertain will kill the people you love, and you can't have the truth, so you make a decision and you carry it like it's the truth and you live with whatever comes. That's not bravery the way the movies do it. There's no music. It's quieter than that and heavier. Avery made it, I want you to know that. He lost some of the leg, walks with a cane now, and he sends me a message every year on that date, the same 2 words every time, and I send the same 2 words back, and neither of us ever explains it to anyone because nobody else would understand. Shot confirmed, that's our whole conversation. Once a year, shot confirmed. Booker still hums that gospel song. Tran's a real doctor now in a real hospital with real floss. Webb stopped calling people sir. Diaz and Polk still argue about basketball. We're scattered all over now the way it goes, but there's a thread between us still, the same thread that ran up the eastern wall to a finger of rock, to a woman who decided to be sure when nobody on earth could be. I don't see Renner much anymore. She's a quiet person, always was, and she lives a quiet life now, which she earned about 1,000 times over. But every so often the phone rings and I pick up and there's just breathing on the other end, somebody who can't sleep, somebody back in the slot for the night, and I don't say anything either, I just stay on the line because that's what you do. You give them 5 seconds of quiet, you hold what you've got. You let them know that the line's still open and somebody's still on the other end of it. People ask me sometimes what the bravest thing I ever saw was. They expect a charge, an explosion, somebody throwing themselves on something. And I tell them no. The bravest thing I ever saw was a woman alone on a rock in a place that wanted her dead, doing math she couldn't possibly trust, and then saying 3 flat words into the dark like she had all the time in the world. She gave us back the whole rest of our lives. Every birthday, every argument about basketball, every cup of bad coffee, every ordinary, boring, beautiful day any of us has had since, she's the reason. One round, one guess, one decision to be sure. We were trapped in that valley with no way out, and the sky was on fire, and I had run completely out of answers. And then she whispered, "Shot confirmed." And we came home.